So if you look around here, you're going to see that the street I'm on is one of the more expensive in the city. And if you look, guess what? It's all about sales. It's sales. That's where all these houses here that you see were all generated because of sales. It didn't happen by accident. You know, it didn't happen because somebody just sent them a boatload of money. It didn't happen because they were lucky. It happened because of sales. So don't kid yourself when you think to yourself and you see people and you say, oh, they're just lucky, or oh, they just had a lucky week. They just had a lucky moment. They've had a lucky life. You know, if you want to lie to yourself, you can lie to yourself. It's all good. But the truth is, you'd only be lying to yourself. Living on streets like this, that without sales, without knowing how to convert, without having a good product or service, you are never ever going to be able to enjoy the finer things in life in terms of things that require monetary power, money. So when you shrug, or if you're the kind of person that shrugs, remember, if you want a nice house, if you want a nice car, if you want to be able to take vacations, if you want freedom, if you want to be able to donate a lot of money every month to your favorite charity, because maybe material things for yourself bring you no joy, but doing for others does, then you're going to want to make sure that you understand how important sales really are. And you don't want to hate them. You want to be in a position where you can master the process, because that's all it is. It's a process. One of the most important things that I'm going to talk about in any business, anything that you're going to do, you need to be able to do something that a lot of people don't really want to do. They want the satisfaction of what comes after they've done it, but they never want to do it, and they never want to believe that it's necessary to do it and do it relentlessly, and that thing is to sell. Now, you know, a lot of the time before the internet even came about, people still felt this way, but one of the very first things I ever did is use the phone to sell. And you're going to realize very quickly in business, in good times and in bad times, but especially in bad times, if you know how to sell on the phone, you can pull yourself out of a basket of hell. You'll never suffer. You will never be destitute. As long as you have a good product or a good service and know how to use the phone, you will be golden. Think about it. What are the options? You know, you can go run around, knock on doors if you're needing to sell. You can place ads and hope people just send you money, or you can do the most time-effective, cost-effective methodology. You can use it to your advantage. You can master it, and you can become somebody who becomes very dangerous in a good way, not in a bad way, not in a violent way. And you can use your phone to do what I did before the internet even came to fruition. I had already generated millions of dollars in sales by phone and trained others to do it. I then went into the internet, became familiar, used the phone quite a bit in conjunction with the computer, my websites, my email, then even put systems together that involve no phone at all whatsoever. But before you can do all that, master all that, get to that point, you need to understand the scent of a sale, is what I'm going to call it. And the scent of a sale it's not just about understanding what you're selling and knowing the product. It's about understanding the psychology behind the sale, how to communicate effectively. And in a sentence or two, that's what it is. When you're selling, everyone's selling. It doesn't matter if you're an accountant, a doctor, a lawyer, a pharmacist. To get clientele to come to you and get them to continue coming back, especially, you need to be selling yourself. So the single biggest thing, if I'm going to explain it in a sentence or two, and I want you to wrap your mind around this, if someone says no, you have to at least make sure that they have a crystal clear understanding of what they've said no to. And before you bother to spend the time to do that, you need to be certain of one thing, that they're a potential buyer. And who is a potential buyer? Someone who shows you respect, someone who is positive on hello, someone who's upbeat, who has a bit of life, who isn't listless and flat. That's how you qualify if you're even going to spend a minute with somebody or two before you send them to a presentation that does a lot of the presenting for you. And that's the right way to do things. Yeah, so, another important thing to understand is that time is very valuable in a way that a lot of you may not really think of it. So if you're prospecting and if you're using the phone and if you're smart and you're doing it right, and I'll get into this in more detail at another time, but if you're using your email, your website, and your telephone, and you're really using them all in conjunction, using them all together, no matter how good the leads are that you're actually using, and you should be using a lot of them every day. If you're making phone calls to generate your sales, you should be making at least a couple hundred phone calls manually per day. You should be using a dialer, ideally, that enables you to reach almost 3 times that amount, even yourself, if it's just yourself making the calls. But in short, the key really is it's your ear. Your ear is really much more important than your mouth is ever going to be, because in a whole day of work, you should never send more than 5 or 6 people to a presentation. So think of that. In a whole day of speaking to people, it doesn't matter if 30, 40 people answer your phone calls, you should never send more than 5 or 6 people to see a presentation. And before that, you should never spend more than 2 to 5 minutes with those 5 or 6 people of yourself, of your own talk time. You should never spend more than those 5 or 6 minutes at the most. Think of it this way, the 5-6 rule. 5 or 6 minutes maximum, 5 or 6 people maximum going to a presentation that is on the internet, that is automated, and that's what you should be doing. So most of your time should be spent dialing and hanging up. It shouldn't be that you're spending 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes talking to somebody the very first time you speak to them. You should be looking for people that have an upbeat tone of voice. They need to sound, in other words, like a nice person. Because if you've noticed in life, typically people that have good things happen to them overall tend to be more happy. And that's because people that are more happy are more open. And when you're more open, you're more likely to be able to recognize an advantageous situation if it comes along. People that are flat, negative, not outright negative, but kind of nor here nor there, they tend to be a more closed personality, and that's why less good things, if you've noticed, happen to people that are flat overall most of the time, because they're closed and they find it hard to believe or recognize an opportunity even if they actually see one. So if you use that thought process right out of the gate, regardless of what your script is, you will be one step closer to success, because you'll be spending time with a better quality of people, which means you will be less tired and you will never feel exhausted at the end of your day of prospecting. So what I've just talked about in a very quick way, in a very fast way, is how and what to look for when you qualify people, and how to know that you've been qualifying people properly and being strict enough, because throughout the whole day, no matter how many people answered, you did not send more than 5 or 6 to a presentation. And the rest of it is the proper scripting that you need in order to be able to get those good 5 or 6 people to go and see that presentation.